Hello everyone, how are we all doing? Welcome to another episode of Correcting Misconception, Negative Belief about Health, creating awareness about health, and correcting misconceptions about health. On today's episode, we'll be talking about what last week we were talking about cardiovascular diseases, and I was giving the types of cardiovascular diseases and their signs and symptoms. This week I'll be talking about the causes of all these cardiovascular diseases. What can cause it? What are the things that can make someone to be predisposed to these cardiovascular diseases? That is what I'll be talking about this week. Remember, last week we spoke about the types, which include coronary artery disease. We spoke about hypertension. We spoke about peripheral artery disease. We spoke about rheumatic artery disease, uh, rheumatic artery disease, and other diseases we spoke about, heart attack, um, hypertension, and the like. If you have not watched my video on that, go back to my page and watch those videos on the types of cardiovascular disease I spoke about. Now, this week I'll be talking about the causes. What can cause someone to develop cardiovascular diseases? Number one thing that can cause that is when you have what we call arteriosclerosis. Atherosclerosis simply means fatty deposits in the inner walls of the blood vessels. This is blood vessel is like a pipe. As I earlier explained when I was talking about coronary artery disease, blood vessel is like a pipe, and once that blood vessel is like a pipe, we have fat deposits around the blood vessels. That fat deposit turns to block the easy flow of blood to those blood vessels, thereby making blood to flow with a lot of pressure. All this atherosclerosis is associated with sicknesses like coronary artery disease, peripheral artery disease, and what we call um, yes, CAD, PAT, and other cardiovascular disease, even hypertension too is associated with this atherosclerosis. Another thing that used to cause that is what we call cholesterol. High cholesterol in the blood can lead to cardiovascular disease. High cholesterol, what can cause high cholesterol? High cholesterol is due to too much intake of low density lipoprotein, eating trans fats, and the like. When I'll be giving remedy, I'm going to talk about the food that contain in another episode entirely. I will talk about food that contain low density lipoprotein, LDL, and trans fats. I'll talk about that. Another thing that can dispose someone to this cardiovascular disease is what we call high blood pressure. Once you have high blood pressure, you are at risk of developing a cardiovascular disease already. High blood pressure is already a cardiovascular disease. But when the high blood pressure is remain high without remains high without being controlled, that is, if you are given medication to take or high blood pressure and you don't take it properly, your blood pressure remains high. It can dispose you to cardiovascular disease, other cardiovascular disease, because that high pressure, can damage the blood vessels. And once it damages the blood vessels, it can lead to other cardiovascular diseases like stroke. Mind you, I talked about stroke and I talked about hemorrhagic stroke and ischemic stroke. Where I talk about hemorrhagic stroke, where I said someone can blood vessel can damage the brain and blood flows without controlling the brain because of damage of blood vessel. In that case, it's as a result of high blood pressure. When your blood pressure remains high constantly, without being controlled, it can lead to that, and you can develop hemorrhagic stroke. You can develop hemorrhagic stroke. Ischemic stroke can also be as a result of what I earlier said, arteriosclerosis, where blood is not flowing properly to the brain, maybe as a result of fat deposits on the blood vessels, making it difficult for blood to flow through to the brain. Yes. So you see, some of the causes of these cardiovascular diseases are interrelated. The first thing I spoke about was arteriosclerosis. The second thing I spoke about here is high cholesterol, low density lipoprotein trans fat. And the third one I spoke about is what we call high blood pressure. In this episode, I'm going to end in this three because I wouldn't want the video to be so long. I want the video to be as short as possible and passing the message so people can easily get the message. That is why I always do my videos in episode. So I'll cut it short, not make it too long and boring for people not to go through the whole video and get the whole message. I'll end here in this episode and I'll continue the courses in the next episode. Thank you, and I love you. And as usual, stay healthy and take care of your hearts. Very, very important because your heart is one of the machine that controls your whole body. Once your heart stops, your life stops. Thank you and have a nice day.